Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be creating this door. We are finally going to do something with our interaction system. So we're going to create this door that will open and close, and this will always open away from us. And then we're also going to create some functionality so that after a certain distance, it will close on its own. All right, let's get started. Okay, back in our project here, there's a few things that we want to do. So we want to import our meshes. So let's see, I've got my meshes over here. These are the ones that I created in Blender the other day, which I'll make available to you guys. So I'm going to drag in the meshes, and under the import options, I'm going to change this to do not create materials because I want to talk a little bit about materials today as well. So we've got those imported. We can close that, close our message log there. And let's go to materials now. And let's right click and let's create a new material and call it m_master. And I want to talk about master materials. So instead of creating a material for every mesh that we do, a good idea would be to create a single material that we can then create what's called a material instance from. And that is kind of like creating, if you are familiar with like a child blueprint, it's kind of creating a child of the material, and it makes it a little bit easier to just keep things organized. And we can also kind of build onto this master material as we go, and it'll allow us to set a number of parameters. So we're going to start out very simple right now. I'm going to right click and type texture sample, and we're going to get 3 of those. So Control D to duplicate those. And I'm going to right click on these and click on convert to parameter here. And this one I'm going to call base color. And I'm going to do that for all of these. So I'm going to convert this one. We're going to call this one normal. And this last one, we're going to call ORM. And the reason I'm calling it that is because if you remember in our bottle example, we have the base color, we have the normal, and then we have that one texture which has 3 different values in here under the R, G, and B. And typically those are kind of referred to as your ORM, or occlusion, roughness, and metallic. And now what we can do is we need just kind of some placeholders. So I've already imported my textures here, but all you have to do is just drag these into your project here, and you can import those in. Let's not forget to on our ORMs here, make sure that you open these up, and sRGB will probably be checked automatically. So make sure that is unchecked off of all of the ORM, or the occlusion, roughness, and metallic textures. Okay, so under our base color, we're going to we'll just use the door here. These will just be our placeholders. You could do anything here. I think the engine itself even has placeholders. Let me search normal. Yeah, it looks like under engine/engine materials, there's default textures that you could use. So you could use those or anything really, as long as you just kind of know what's going on. So for me, like I said, I'm just going to use the door textures just to use those as placeholders. So in my normal, I'm going to put the door normal, and then the ORM, we'll do the door occlusion, roughness, and metallic. Now, you'll notice this automatically changed the sampler type to linear color. If yours doesn't do that, make sure that this is set to linear color. If it doesn't do that, you might have forgotten to uncheck sRGB here. If you leave that checked, the reason that we uncheck that is because if it is not, and it is just regular color, it's going to give you incorrect values in this. So we have our parameters set now. Now we just need to plug these in. So base color into base color, normal into normal. And then for ORM, we're going to do B to metallic, G to roughness, and R to ambient occlusion. Don't ask me why I always go bottom to top. I don't know. It's just the way I learned it. Okay, that's all we're going to do for now. So I'm going to apply and save that to our master material. And now what we can do in materials is I can right-click on this master, and I can click on create material instance. And now I can call that MI for material instance underscore, and we'll do door frame. And then I'm also going to duplicate this, and I'll do MI door. And let's save all of that. Okay. Now let's go to our meshes. And so for our door here, let's open it up. First of all, let's make sure that when we imported it, let's make sure that the collision is right, because that's very important for items that we need to interact with we want to make sure that our line trace is going to hit that. So I'm going to click on collision up here, or I'm sorry, I'm going to click on show and just click on simple collision. And there you go. You can see that the engine already added just a basic collision to that, which is perfectly fine. That's all we need. So the other thing that we want to do is apply our material. So MI door, we'll drag that one in. Now, because I'm using the door textures as the default for the master material, these materials are already set, but you'll see on our door frame, let's open that up. So let's get the material for that we created, the MI door frame. Now, these are using the textures for the door, so we need to obviously change that. So we can double click on this, and now we have our material instance here. And the cool thing about material instances, there's a bunch of cool things, but one of the cool things is you can drag something into your level here, and you can actually see this update in real time. So if I drag this out here, and let's check all three of these because we want to replace all three of these. And let's go back to our textures. And so we want to get the door frame. So right when I put this in, you can see that updated. And as we add parameters to this, that will be a little bit more apparent. We could do something, I guess I could go ahead and show you right now. So maybe we want to, let's open our master material here. Maybe we want to do something like control the, I don't know, maybe the brightness, or maybe like, how about the tint of our base color here? So what I can do is I can hold 3, and I can get what is called a constant 3 vector. And all this is just a color. So it just allows me to set any color in here that I want. And I can drag out of here, and I can multiply. I can multiply that with our base color. And then out of here, I can put this into base color. Now, you'll notice that our color has just gone completely black. That is because this color is now affecting this color. So if I change this back to white, then we have our default. But I could also change it to kind of like a blue there, and it's going to give it kind of a blue tint. This is not really a great material to show this on. This would work better on a material that maybe has like a white texture here, and then you could really control this. But we'll leave it here just to kind of showcase what we can do with that. So I'm going to leave that as white for our default, and then I'm going to right click on this, convert it to a parameter, and we can call this base color tint. And now if I apply that and save, then we can go back here, and now I can get my material instance, and if I wanted to change the tint, I can now click on here, and I can very quickly change the tints of that. So I hope that kind of makes sense why we want to create material instances. The more stuff that we add on here, the more powerful this master material will be, and it'll just help us keep everything nice and clean. Okay, so let's close that. We don't need our master material anymore. We can close those. And let's talk about a door. So there are, as usual, a lot of different ways to create a door. And doors in general are something that you probably don't really think much about, but they can get quite complex. There's a lot of things that need to happen in a video game that is centered around doors. You need to think about, is this door going to be open by default? Is this door going to be locked by default? Is this door going to be able to be locked? Do I need a key to open the door? If I need a key, then how do I check if it needs a key? There's a lot of stuff to this, right? So we're going to start out very simple and kind of build onto this. So I'm going to do a new blueprint, and we're going to choose actor, and we're going to call this BP door. And open that up, and let's go ahead and add a static mesh here. Static mesh, and we'll call this door. And for our door, big surprise, we're going to use SM door. Compile and save. Oh, one other thing. So we checked the collision on our door, which was good, but let's look at the collision on the door frame, because that's going to be important too. So if we click on show and look at simple collision, okay, so this is going to cause issues, because what this did, this added simple collision, which just puts a box around this. But because this is not really a box, it's like two pillars with a top here, we need to be able to walk through this. And the way it is right now, you can see we can't walk through, and that is obviously a problem. So we need to fix that. We don't really want to remove the collision. So we need a more complex collision on here. Now, fortunately, Unreal Engine makes this pretty easy. There's a thing under the details panel. If you scroll down, under collision complexity, we've got project default. And what we're looking for is use complex collision as simple. And when I click on that, you'll see what happens. It's now applying collision in a much more complex and much more accurate way. Now, this is more expensive for the engine, obviously, because now it's calculating collision on all of these little parts. But Unreal Engine is also very well optimized, and it can handle this without any issue. Now, if you had a million objects like this that all had complex collision on it, then you might run into some issues, but this will be fine like this. Now, this just applied collision to the actual frame, but we still have this simple collision. So this probably sounds a little weird, but we're going to go up to collision, and we want to click on remove collision. And now we just removed that collision box. But we still have collision where you can see all the kind of purplish lines there. I hope that makes sense. If we save, then we can go back here, test this out. And now we can walk through. And then we still have actual collision here. Okay. So let's go back to our door. The other thing that we need is, actually, I'm just going to duplicate the door here. Call that door frame. And that is, big surprise, going to be our door frame. I'm also going to just go ahead and save all of this. Okay. Now, if yours doesn't, looks like this is loading in with the correct angle and everything, and it's not, you know, we don't need to adjust anything here. Although, let's see, let me look at, let's actually just bring our door in. Okay, so this is a problem here. Our pivot point is in the wrong spot. And actually, I'm glad that this is showing this, because this is a common problem that you'll run into that you need to know how to fix really easily. And it is really easy to fix. Now, you could take this into Blender. You could export this, import it into Blender, change your pivot point there, export it, bring it back in. That's a whole lot of steps. Fortunately, there is something in Unreal Engine that makes this quite easy. So we can go into the modeling mode here. And wow, I don't know why in the world that opens on that side. Usually it opens over here. Can I? I don't know how to move this now. Normally it opens over here, but that's fine. Now, what we want to find, I actually have it saved as a favorite because I never can remember where it is. But I think it is it under mesh? Nope, it's under Xform. What you're looking for is edit pivots. And like I said, I like to save that as a favorite. If you right click on it, you can click on add to favorite, because it's something that I use all the time. And like I just experienced there, I never can remember which one it's under. So I just have it under my favorite here. But anyway, we want to edit the pivot here. And that is going to bring up this little tool here, which will allow us to move it to wherever we want. So I'm going to turn on snapping here and move it to the edge. Try and get it as close to the edge as we can. So that's too far, so we might have to kind of fine tune this. I'm going to also go into change the perspective here. Let me try. Yeah, here we go. So this will allow me to really see if maybe if I go to unlit. Oh no, now I can't see it. Okay, that's fine. Wireframe is fine. So we want to just change it to right about there. Okay, accept. And let's go back into perspective. Now we have our pivot right in the edge there. So I'm actually not sure why that didn't import correctly, because I do have the pivot set correctly. But like I said, I'm glad that it didn't, because it's a really just good thing to know how to do that, and it's a really simple thing. Okay, so now that we changed that, you're going to see that it changed in here. So we need to slide this. Let's maybe go into bottom view. And then maybe unlit. There we go. So now I can set that right at the edge there. Okay. Go back to perspective. Okay. Oh, we also need to get our door handle. So let's duplicate the door, and we'll call this door handle. And I'm going to parent this to the door, because whenever the door moves, we want the door handle to move as well. So let's grab our door handle. Now, I didn't get textures for this because I wanted to show you that there is another way that you can get textures, and that is under the Quicko Bridge. And so this is a great resource, kind of an insane resource that we all have access to. If you have, I mean, If you're using Unreal Engine, you have an Epic account. So you, if you've never opened this before, you might have to log in, but you just log in with your Epic account. And then you get access to 14,000, almost 15,000 assets here, which is insane. These are crazy high quality assets as well. These are used in pretty much every AAA game out there right now. And we get them for free. So it's a really good deal. So let's look under surfaces, and you can find anything you want. So I'm going to go to maybe metal, and maybe we go to bear, and let's find something like, I don't know. I think I've already got this tin here, so let's try that. So let's see. I think, yeah, this is already downloaded for me. So if it's not, you'll just need to download it. You can choose the quality here. The way this works, low quality is 1K textures, medium is 2K, high quality is 4K, and highest quality, I believe, is 8K, which I would not recommend using. I wouldn't really even recommend using 4K most of the time. 2K is going to be plenty. So I'm just going to click on add. That is going to give us our texture here. And then if I open this up, we can get this and apply this texture to that. Now, the thing about Quixel textures, so they go under Megascans here, surfaces. There's our material there. These are already material instances, and they give you a bunch of parameters. So this is kind of like we created our master material. They also have a master material that they use. To be honest, you could just use this master material as well for your own. You can do this a bunch of different ways. So this looks a little too bright for me. So I'm going to go in here and maybe, what do we have under here? Brightness, let's lower that down. Maybe somewhere around there. Okay. And we'll close that for now. We'll be using the Megascans more. One of the things I want to do very soon is create a small little scene for you guys, so that we can, as we build out our functionality, we'll actually have a little scene to kind of do some stuff in. So I am just manually placing this wherever I want it, which for this is going to be in here. And I think it needs to go, it's kind of hard to see here. Maybe down just a little bit. Now this is not super important for this type of handle. I probably should have made a different handle to show you guys. But if you have a handle that like comes out like this, we will add the functionality for it to turn, but you're not really even going to see it with this type of handle. Maybe I'll make another handle as well, just to show you guys, because it's not really going to show off that capability so much there. But anyway, we will go with it like this for now. So let's go ahead and compile and save. And we can just go ahead and delete these, and let's actually drag out our blueprints. BP door. Okay, so now we just have our blueprint with no functionality, but we have the meshes in there. So we need to give it some functionality. Now, like I said, there are a lot of different ways to do this. I'm going to give you the way that I prefer to do it. But if you have a way that you like to do it, or if you have a better way of doing it, by all means, let me know. I always love to learn, and I'm always up for learning more tips and tricks and everything like that. So I'll show you how I do it, and we'll go from there. Now, there's going to be a couple of things that we're going to want to do. I'm going to go ahead and get a reference to our player character. You'll see why we'll need this later on. I'm just going to go ahead and do it off of event begin play. So I'm going to get player character, and we're going to cast to first person character, or whatever your character is called. And I'm doing this on begin play, and then we're going to create a variable here. So we're going to drag out and click promote to variable, and we'll just call this player ref. And the reason I'm doing this is because we're going to need to be able to get some information from our character, and we could cast to our player character like where we want to do that and do this, but this just makes it easier. It will now give us a variable that I can just drag out, and then I can drag out of here and get things from my player character that way. So I hope that makes sense. All right, the other thing that we are going to want to do, let's compile and save. This is going to be an actor that we want to interact with. So we need to go to class settings, and we need to add our interface, our interaction interface. So BPI interaction. And when I do that, then we get our interaction events. And we are going to, we're going to create a separate event. I mean, we could do this off of interaction, but it's going to get kind of lengthy here. So we're going to create a separate event here. And we're going to handle the open and closing on this event here. So let's do a custom event, and we'll call this open close door. Okay. And let's think about variables. So it's good to think about, even if we don't have them right now, it's good to think about things for the future. We're probably going to want to make, or we are going to make an inventory system eventually, and we'll want to have the functionality to lock this door. And with locking this door, we're obviously going to need a way to unlock it. So we're going to need to know if we have a key. We'll need to know if the door is locked. So let's just go ahead and create a variable and call it locked ? And that'll just be a Boolean. And then we also want to know if the door is open or closed. So let's type door closed ? And I think that's good for right now. So let's get our, let me think how I want to do this. Okay, before we deal with this, I'm going to try and just keep this as basic as I can, and we'll kind of add to the functionality here. So let's just right now, let's just make the door open. Now the way I'm going to do that is with a timeline. So I'm going to drag out of here, and I'm going to type timeline, add timeline, and this will be our open door timeline. And or I guess actually this will handle opening and closing, so we'll just call it door timeline. Now we want to do this play from start. Actually, I'm going to leave it in play for now and show you why we don't want to have that. That's probably easier than just telling you that we need to do that and not actually showing you. So let's go into our timeline, and we're going to add a new float track. And most people call this alpha or something like that. You can really call it whatever you want. The length is going to be the time that we want our door to go from closed to open, or to go from open to closed. Now, I've experimented with this a little bit, And for me, I like 0.75 seconds, but you might want it to be slower. You might want to do 1 second. You might want to make it faster, half a second, whatever you want. Totally up to you. And then on here, we're going to want to add 2 keyframes. So I'm going to click here, add key to curve, and then really anywhere, doesn't really matter where you add these. We just want to add 2. And our first one, we want to set at time 0 and value 0. And then our second one, we want to set at whatever the length of this is going to be. So in my case, it's 0.75. And then our value is going to be 1. And then I'm going to click on these 2 things right here. This is just going to kind of resize that to fit in here. And then I'm also going to, with both of these selected, so I've click on this and then hold shift and then click on this again. And then I'm going to change this to auto. And auto just gives us this nice little S-curve here. So it's a little bit more of an ease in and ease out instead of just a linear line there. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to, when we press interact, whatever that is for you, we want this door to swing open. Let's just make it go this way. Now, if you look up here, you can see that that is changing. You could go to 90. I think maybe something like 80 or 85 might be a better value, just because you don't really want this to go all the way, because it's going to kind of clip into this a little bit. It's not really a huge issue, and you probably won't notice it, but I'm going to try 85. And also you'll notice that it's going in the negative direction, so we want to do minus 85. Now, if you've never used the timeline, this can get a little confusing. The reason this is confusing for me, at least, is because I think in the timeline, I think like, okay, 75 or 0.75 seconds, and I want to go from 0 to minus 85, right? So why am I doing 0 to 1 at 0.75 seconds? That's because we're going to use something called a lerp. And a lerp is going to allow us to move over time from a value of whatever we want to another value of what we want. And usually that's going to be a value of 0 to 1. So we're going to want to move our door. So I'm going to get our door. And we want to drag out of here and do set relative rotation. Okay. And that's going to be on the update there. Now, the new rotation is going to come from this timeline. And it's specifically going to come from the alpha, which, if you remember, is this track right here. So we need a way to interpret from going from 0 to 1. We need a way to convert that into 0 to minus 85, essentially. Or minus 90 or plus 90, wherever you want your door to go. And that's where the lerp comes in. So I'm going to type lerp. And we actually want this alpha is going to go into alpha. And these numbers here, these are going to represent the numbers that we want our door to turn, or where we want to set those. So A is going to be our start point. B is going to be our end point. So if I set this to minus 85, now I can't just drag this into here. So what I need to do is right click on this and split struct pin. And if you remember, all that was changing on that door is the Z value. So that's what we're going to set, is the Z value there. So let's hit compile and save. And before we go any further, let's just see what that does. So let's go up to it, press E and nothing is happening. Let's see what's going on. That's because I don't actually have anything on here. So we want to call this event right here. Okay, so open, close door. So now when we press E, it's going to run this event. All right. There we go. Okay. Now that works, obviously, but it obviously doesn't close as much as I hit it. It doesn't do anything. It's just stuck in that value now. So we need a way to make it go back, essentially, right? Now you notice that there is something called a reverse here. So that seems like that could be useful, right? So maybe one thing that we could do, if you remember from our first person character, there's a thing called a flip-flop. So we could do this so that when we hit it again, let's say that we want to do reverse. Let's try that. So we open, and now if we hit again, then it's going to reverse. Okay, that's working pretty good. And to be honest, that is a door that works, right? That's a very, 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 very simple door. And you know what? That may be all you need. One thing I'm also going to do, I'm going to turn off the line trace debug, just because we don't need to see it all the time now. So I'm going to go in here and just turn that to none, compile, save, and go back in here. So yeah, if you just need a super simple door that opens one way and that's all you need, you could honestly stop here. If you don't need to worry about locking it, if you don't need to worry about it auto closing or opening in any other direction, you could just stop here. Now, one thing that I would change, actually it is kind of working okay right now. Sometimes you run into issues with timeline if you spam it here, that you might run into issues where it'll behave kind of weird. That's where I like to do play from start. That will typically fix that. You usually want to do play from start. And actually, I think why that is working is because we're using the flip-flop. You can see that it's actually not working very well here. This is going to make more sense in a little bit. So let's keep going. And I'm going to take this flip-flop out. The reason I'm going to take the flip-flop out is because we're going to use another way to determine if we want to open or close this. We could use the flip-flop, but remember we created this variable called door closed. This is going to be a little bit better for us because we are going to need to know if the door is closed in other functions and things that we're going to create. And so I'm going to use this essentially as the flip-flop by creating a branch here. And so we'll do into the branch. And so if the door is closed, then we want to open it, as in play from start here. If the door is not closed, then we want to reverse. Okay, so I took a quick little research break here, and I think for our door, at least for the open and close, using play here is going to work out fine. Sometimes play from start does seem to be best. It kind of just depends on what you're using the timeline for. But I've tested this out, and using play seems to be just fine here. So let's go with that. Now, like I said here, we're not going to use the flip-flop. We're going to instead use the check here with the branch if the door is open or closed. But we need a way to actually set whether the door is open or closed. And so very simply, what we're going to do is get our door closed. I'm going to hold Alt to get this set, and we're going to do 2 of those. And so when we open the door, the first time we open the door, if it is closed, we want to set this to false, and that will go into play. And then on false, so now this will be false, we want to set this to true, and that will go into reverse. Okay. And then there's one other thing that we want to do. We want to set door closed to true by default, because our door is closed by default, right? It's shut right now, so it is closed. So the very first event, or the very first time we interact with it, we want that to be true. So let's compile and save, and let's check that out. Okay. And there we go. So again, this is basically the exact same thing, or it is the exact same thing as how we were doing with our flip-flop, but we are just going to be able to have a little bit more functionality and control by using that variable now. Okay, so let's handle creating a way to make the door always open away from us. In Resident Evil, I think all of the modern Resident Evil games, you'll notice that the door is always open away from the player. Now, that may not be as realistic as a real door, and that's totally kind of an option that you can decide for yourself. You may not want to do it like that, but I kind of like that, and especially when I'm making a game, I think it does. You kind of have to take those creative liberties for the actual gameplay. So let's figure out how we're going to do that. We're going to use something called a dot product. And what a dot product is going to do, I guess I'll first show you how we're going to get it. We are going to get our player reference, and we want to get the location of our player. So we'll get actor location. And then we also want to get a reference to our self, which is a reference to the blueprint here. And we want to get the actor location for that. And then we also want to, out of here, we want to type get actor right vector. Now, depending on your door, this might need to be get actor, let me see, get actor forward vector. Yeah, so there's 2 different types of vectors here. There's one that is forward vector, and there's one that's right vector. I believe the one that I want is right vector. It basically is determined on how the pivot is, or how your door is oriented. If X is the front, then I think that is forward vector. I always forget which way is forward in Unreal Engine. And if Y is forward, then that is technically not forward. I think I always get that confused. So we'll test it out here, but just know if you're getting weird results here, you might need to change this part right here to get forward vector, or if you're using get forward vector, you might need to use get actor right vector. I hope that wasn't too confusing. Now out of here, we want to subtract the location of our character. And then from our right vector, we're going to get the dot product. And I'm going to swap these around here. Now out of here, we want to do a normalize. Okay. And out of our normalize, this is going to go into the other part of the dot vector here. Okay. Just going to kind of straighten all this up a little bit. Something like that. And let's make a little bit more room here. Now, out of our dot product, we are going to promote that to a variable. And that's just going to be called dot product. And we're going to set that before we hit our timeline. Like this. Now, to show you kind of what this is doing, I'm going to get the tick, events tick, and I'm going to do a print string. And then I'm going to just drag this into here. That will print what is being output here, just so we can see. So if I hit play now, you'll see these numbers. And you see right now we are at negative 0.95. As I back away from the door, we're basically going to approach -1, but we're never going to hit -1. And then as I approach the door, we're going to approach 0. But the cool part is when we cross over, then we cross over from negative to positive. And that's the main thing that we want to get from that dot product, is whether we're on the plus or the minus, or the positive or the negative side. And that's the cool thing about the dot product. That allows you to get a value like that. So it can be very useful. Okay. So let's go back here. And now what we want to do, we want to use that dot product. We want to use that result. And then that's going to determine our A and our B here, which way we're going to do this. So I think we got enough room here. Let's get our dot product. Oops, drag that out. And out of dot product, let's do a greater than or equal to. And out of this, we're going to drag and we're going to type select float. And this is going to allow us, now we have an A and a B here. This is going to be, this is going to essentially be B right here. But for this, we're going to choose 85 and minus 85, or whatever number you want that to be. It could be 90 and minus 90, or, you know, whatever value you want your door to open to. Okay, and then this is now going to go into B. So essentially what this is doing here, this is getting the dot product, and if it is greater than 0, then it's going to pick A, which is 85. If it is not that, if it is essentially below or less than, then it's going to pick B. And so that allows us to get two different values that we can plug into B. Okay, so let's try that out. So now that opens away from us. We can close it. And then on this side, it's always going to open away from us as well. Now, if yours is doing the opposite, then you just need to switch these. So maybe always think about that, but I just tested this before to get those values. Okay, this video, I think this video is getting quite long. I think this will be a good place to stop for a part 1. So we have, we've done quite a bit. We have the full functionality of our door here. It opens, we can close it, and it's always going to open away from us, right? I will go ahead and delete this events tick and the print string just because we don't want that anymore. And I will leave it there. So we have created a basic door. On the next episode, we will put more functionality into this. We'll create sounds. We'll also create an auto close for it so that when we get a certain distance away, then it will close. Okay, so thank you guys so much for hanging out, and I hope you guys learned something. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you have any suggestions, please let me know. And if you could leave a like, I would really appreciate that, and be sure to subscribe as well. And I'll be back with part 2. All right, take care, guys.